Hello, I'm Bernard Hickey from interest.co.nz and welcome to a special investing report here from the Ellerslie Convention Centre out here at the Ellerslie Racecourse in Auckland, where we've just had the meeting of MFS Pacific debenture holders, and they voted 99% in favour of a moratorium proposal put forward by MFS Pacific. This has been a debacle over the last 4 or 5 months or so, where up until January 17th, MFS Pacific believed that its Australian parent, MFS, would back it. It had a so-called put option, where MFS, the parent, would buy bad loans off MFS Pacific. Turned out, though, that MFS got into all sorts of financial trouble itself, and on January 17, it announced some shocking announcements to the market, which in turn meant that a few days later, MFS Pacific was essentially put into a debt moratorium. It was frozen in time, couldn't repay its debt and couldn't repay the interest. Now, over the subsequent months, MFS Pacific has been combing through its accounts and finding a whole bunch of nasties, including that most of its loans were second mortgages on property developments in Australia, where others had the first ranking security. So a disaster was uncovered, and MFS Pacific and its chief executive Jason Maywald have proposed a moratorium, 3 years, where debt is not repaid, while the loans and the assets that MFS has are recovered and eventually paid back to MFS Pacific, the New Zealand operation. Now, there was some really heated debate and some angry comments from many of the investors at the meeting here at Ellerslie, including some from Dover Samuels. And in a moment, you can see some of those comments from Dover Samuels. But overall, the general tone of the meeting was, we're angry that this Australian parent appears to have misled investors in New Zealand and effectively taken or mismanaged hundreds of millions of New Zealand investors' money, but that the best option to get most of that money back was to agree to the moratorium. Essentially, New Zealand investors were stuck between a rock and a hard place. They couldn't actually put MFS into receivership, which would have triggered a massive fire sale, and they wouldn't have received that much back, and they knew it, and so they decided to vote in favour of the moratorium. But it's fair to say they weren't happy about it. As you can see here from some comments from Dover Samuels, the Labour MP who lost or had much of his own family money invested in MFS Pacific. Which way have you voted?
I just think, yes, I voted for it because we've got no option. I think it's between a rock and a hard place. The put option is there also, but we've actually got no option. I mean, we're just, it's either accept it or go into liquidation, and I think that would not be an advisable option in terms of any prospective real return on one's investment. So we're here, and I would expect that the moratorium would probably get its 70% support. But we're looking, and they're talking about 3 years out in terms of getting our money back. I mean, who knows? Who knows? And the idea of putting the buck over the other side of the ditch really doesn't stack up with me at all. And I think that perhaps some of the directors, or our directors that are supposed to represent our interests in this country, should stand up and be counted and fully disclose what the hell was going on. I mean, even the request for this report has been sort of fudged and covered up, and I think that is undesirable in terms of full disclosure to the stockholders and share investors.
As you can see there from Dover Samuels, some very unhappy investors, and they want to get to the bottom of who exactly was responsible for the debacle of MFS Pacific. I'm Bernard Hickey. That was a special investing report here from the Ellerslie Racecourse for interest.co.nz.